No way this keeps happening, as the Toronto Raptors have been cursed this entire season, dating back to last season with all the injuries that have been going on, as now two Toronto Raptors rookies sustained injuries in last night's game against the Sacramento Kings, and this has serious implications, not necessarily for the win-loss column, but for the young players' development that have been continuously going down with the injury bug, because again, this is a crucial season for getting reps, getting opportunities, playing against top-tier talent, and getting these guys better. And if they can't be out there on the court, it does suck to see. But the guys that did get out on the court, we did have some interesting developments in terms of how they're being guarded and how, things are changing in regards to the perception about different players on this roster. And we saw it last night's game against the Sacramento Kings. So lots of stuff to break down in this video. But folks, I just want to say thank you. You guys have been crushing it, hitting the sub button as of late, and still over 67% of our viewers haven't hit the subscribe button just yet, and we are so close to 36,000 subscribers. So make sure, if you want to stay up to date, you're enjoying the daily Toronto Raptors coverage, you guys hit that subscribe button. But let's dive into the news, because frankly, again, the Raptors lost to the Sacramento Kings last night. Win-losses, not worried about that at all over the course of the season. Worried about young players playing well, having exciting matchups. And for the first three quarters of last night's game, there was an awesome game of basketball being played. The fourth quarter, DeMar DeRozan went on a tear. This team kind of fell apart down the stretch. That is what it is. But the real main storyline coming from this, before we really dive into the on-court action, was the off-court action, the players being taken off the court action, because this team is just frankly cursed here now at this point, as Blake Murphy revealed that Jonathan Mobo is done for the night with a right hip pointer injury. So again, those hip pointer injuries are always weird. They're tough to time. It's tough to tell how serious something like this could be. Hopefully it's minor, because again, Jonathan Mobo has been amazing for this Raptors team over the course of the season. And then on top of it, Jakob Poeltl was headed to the locker room. It looks like he caught his right shoulder on a Sabonis screen, the same shoulder that cost him all of camp and the start of his rookie season. The right shoulder joint contusion for Walters per Savannah Hamilton, and he's being evaluated further. He is done for the night. So two injuries going on there, and we saw a more specific update regarding Jakob Poeltl, as he won't return after injuring his right AC joint, same injury that kept him out of the first few games of training camp, and it's just been tough luck for the Toronto Raptors rookie. So again, before we dive into any of the on-court action, this is just a brutal update for this Toronto Raptors team. Because frankly, we've seen so much development, so much leaps forward for guys like Jonathan Mobo. For, even though Jakob Poeltl never even got his legs under him really yet, but he's shown a lot of promise as a scorer, as a dog, as a fighter out there on the offensive end and defensive end of the court for this Raptors squad. And frankly, these Toronto Raptors rookies have been shocking a ton of people in terms of what they've been able to provide, what they've been able to do for this team. I mean, we could take a look at Jonathan Mobo's stats, right? Over the course of the season, 6.6 points per game, 4.7 assists, 1.9, let's get this right. 6.6 points, 4.7 rebounds, 1.9 assists, 1.1 steals per night, 0.7 blocks per game, and shooting 50% from the field. He's shooting 3-point shots, which is a big positive, right? Not a ton, not a high volume in that direction by any stretch, but still just showing a lot of promise for a guy that was projected to be, not all the way there in terms of his jump shooting, especially his offensive game, but has impressed a ton of guys. So hopefully these injuries, hopefully these, things that are going down for Jakob Poeltl, for Jonathan Mobo, right, are just kind of, minor things, day-to-day type of issues, but obviously they should not be rushed back. This shouldn't be a situation where they're like, hey, this is urgent, you need to, rush an injury recovery, and sucks it's the same injured shoulder for Jakob Poeltl, because again, he hasn't been shooting that great to start off his NBA career. We know that's what he was kind of brought in to be able to do, be a, spark plug scorer for this Raptors team. And frankly, hasn't had the highest percentages, even though the jump shot looks good. He's taking the right shots. He's doing the right things out there. Shoulder injuries have an effect on your jump shot, especially if they end up persisting, if they end up coming a long way. And you go to the Markelle Fultz side of things and, they start messing around with your form. So let's pray, let's hope that this Raptors team doesn't have all these injuries, beating them over the head this entire season. Now, some people are saying, hey, this is very helpful in the quest to acquire Cooper Flag, capture the flag. The Raptors losing games, losing players, right? That's the kind of big benefit, but still, you don't want that to come at the cost of legitimate injuries, which sacrifice development, especially for rookies, right? They're not going to win a ton of games regardless, because they're still developing. You have fourth quarter collapses like what happened last night, but you want those guys to get reps at the NBA level. So those injuries just suck. But there was a game that was played. There was some, and it was a pretty exciting game as well for this Raptors squad that happened last night. again, Gradey Dick has been the main story for this Toronto Raptors team over the course of the season. This is the first game, really, where it looked like the other team just did not want to let Gradey Dick get going. And last night, 7 points in this one, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 fouls. A couple of his three-point shots were from deep. He knew that the defenses were closing out on him fast, so if he wanted to get some shots up, they had to be kind of those deep, long rangers, and they just didn't go down for Gradey Dick. Again, not worried whatsoever about this performance, because frankly, he took the brunt of the defense. Like, usually Gradey Dick's kind of been the, last season, the start of this year, the focus was always on RJ, Scottie, Pascal Siakam last season. Whoever's out there on the roster, right? Like, the focal point of this team's. Now, Gradey Dick, with all the injuries, of course, on top of it, rather than Gradey Dick being a guy that's, you debate whether you help off him stand in the corner, there's 1-2 guys locked in. There's players playing the gap position against Gradey Dick out there on the defensive end, when he has the ball. So, again, Gradey Dick is probably going to have a lot more nights like this in terms of where it's not crazy efficient, where the shots aren't going down, but that is what we saw with Scottie Barnes at the end of last season. The defense is focusing on, we saw it with Pascal Siakam, we saw it with the guy on the other team last night, DeMar DeRozan. Once it's an adjustment period, getting used to scoring on NBA level defenses when they are locked in on you. So again, it's all learning, it's all growing pains for Gradey Dick. I'm not worried about whatsoever. But those aren't the only guys that played. RJ Barrett had a solid one last night's game as well, especially the first quarter was just electric for him. But 23 points in this game, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. 9-19 shooting from the field. His finishing around the rim has been phenomenal, right? Don't have to rave about RJ Barrett too much because we know how good he is. Davion Mitchell had a really strong performance against his former team. Looked like he was rushing things. Looked like he was kind of in that position where it's like, oh, I got to prove him game against my former team the last time they played Sacramento, and didn't have the greatest outing by any stretch. But last night, 26, 3, 1 steal. 8 of 11 shooting from the field. Davion Mitchell did a really, really good job for that team. So, good stuff for Davion. Jakob Poeltl didn't have the craziest games last night. Still not bad by any stretch. 10 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 5 of 8 shooting. Only 2 fouls, which is nice because, again, Sabonis, you could see, the other star big men have been the focal point in terms of, getting Jakob Poeltl in foul trouble, but Sabonis had a ridiculous game himself. He was more in that facilitator role, still at 17 points, but 13 assists, 11 rebounds. 6-6 shooting from the field, no turnovers. Just a ridiculous game for Sabonis, but he's not a Toronto Raptor. Ochai Agbaji, interesting performance, 12 points. 2 of 7 from the three-point line. Again, Josh Lundberg made some interesting points about Ochai Agbaji's corner three-point shooting versus his, above the break three-point shooting. He hit a couple above the breaks later in this game, but I thought that was an interesting point. He's just so much a better shooter from the corners than he is from the top, from front on. So that's an interesting development. Boucher, really, really hot start to this game, and 25 minutes, 7-11 shooting. Happy that he's in the rotation for this team. That's a big positive for the squad. But again, Mobo ended up going down with injury, right? Jakob Poeltl went down with injury. Just sucks to see. Jamal Shed, 5 points, 2 assists. Once he gets that jump shot, man, that's going to be nice. And one interesting storyline in this game as well was Jamison Battle, who is a player that, really started off, had a couple of really clean looks at the start of this game and was just hitting the front side of the rims. But, at the end of the third quarter, he hit some very timely shots. And I just like that I like his confidence, man. I like that he's having a bad game. Offensively, had some fouls as well, was being attacked out there on the other end, and then still had the confidence to let it fly, let it shoot, and, still take the shots we know he's very good at making. So, good. Not a good game for Jamison Battle, but really good sort of showing in the fact that, hey, I don't care how my shot's going, how things are rocking. Like, let's ride on this. So that's injuries suck. Development game for the Toronto Raptors, but we'll see how things play out. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. You guys best think it's fair. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out.